And we're back. We are in Choctober, the best time of the year. It is spooky season. We've got an amazing set with a haunted house. 3 ghosts live in it, so, if you see something creeping behind me, don't be too surprised. But we are jumping right into this month's Flight Club. Last month, we took a trip across Africa for some various single origin blends. We'll be following a similar theme, but this month we'll be tasting single origin Brazil, thus the soccer jersey, or should I say football jersey. So obviously we know Brazil is this massive country in South America. We've got a good cross selection of bean to bar blends using Brazilian cacao and Brazilian ingredients. So without further ado, let's jump right into this month's Flight Club package. So the first blend we'll be tasting this month is a familiar face. It's Francois Prélude out of Rouen, France. And this is a 75% pure dark chocolate single origin Brazil. We have covered Prélude in the past various times, but we have not yet covered this blend. It's farmed in the Bahia region, which is right up in here. And Prélude has some of the smoothest mouthfeel chocolate that will go across your palate. It is exceptionally well produced, and all of his single origin blends are as smooth and creamy as the next. They're typically in the 75% cacao range, but of course we're focusing on Brazil this month, so let's discuss this blend a little bit. Prélude is working with a co-op, Cacao Badaro, that's been cultivating cocoa beans for over 100 years in the Bahia region in Brazil. And through their tenured times in cocoa farming, they have really perfected the process. Following the strict chocolate producing process that Prélude has implemented in combination with these fine cacao beans, you really do have one of the finest Brazilian cacao options out there. I also was digging online a bit to try to find a good clip from Prélude, but unfortunately all of which are in French. So I'm unable to find one in English. I don't want you to have to learn French to understand the clips, but Prélude is just some of the finest French chocolate out there, and super thrilled that we can have such a high quality blend for Choctober to really kick things off. Quite fine, and this blend will certainly have you coming back to explore more Prélude blends. So now that we have covered the Prélude 75% Brazilian blend, we will be tasting a familiar face, Dick Taylor's craft chocolate, their peanut butter blend with 55% cocoa content, single origin Brazil, and it has mixed peanut butter flour in amongst the composition. Dick Taylor is using all organic ingredients, and they do also have a pure Brazilian blend at a 75% cocoa content, but we wanted to give you a good kind of new era style of their Brazilian cacao. So this blend is using about the same sugar content, but it has, of course, the added peanut butter flour. The blend is quite silky, smooth. Obviously, peanut butter and chocolate go hand in hand. But you don't often find a blend of this quality from a craft maker that has a peanut butter infusion. You might see a filling, but not as often will you ever find it just mixed in the core composition. In the pure blend of the Brazilian cacao from Dick Taylor, you'll get pretty strong secondary notes of honeysuckle, grape, and walnut. You will pick those up slightly in this blend, but obviously they're more overpowered by the peanut butter infusion. But obviously you'll still get more subtle notes. Also do have a good clip from Dick Taylor in their bean to bar process, and let's go ahead and check that out. So as you can see, they're really putting quality and care above everything. They have a great bean to bar process in Eureka, California. plus packaging some of the best out there, made with an old school letterpress. So with that being said, we'll be moving on to our next tasting. So next up is another familiar face, a domestic brand out of Petoskey, Michigan, Crone Moss Chocolate Bean to Bar. This is a mixed cacao origin blend, although it is using coffee from the Santos region in Brazil, which is a little south, kind of right in this area here. This blend is a mixed origin of the Zazal, Dominican Republic, and Camino Verde, Ecuador cacao, but the Brazilian Santos coffee is really the star of the show in this blend. The coffee beans are actually dried in the cherries, so those are much more fruit-forward tasting coffee notes as opposed to just, bitter burnt coffee. I've had countless coffee blends in my days of tasting, and I do not think I've had a nicer blend than this Santos coffee from Crone Moss. The coffee beans are, more sweet and fruit-forward, as I mentioned, but it's all in a nice fudgy chocolate canvas, which is a mixed blend origin. This, Crone Moss is some of the smoothest mouthfeel that you'll come across your palate. I will say, for all coffee lovers, you might not be able to only eat half. You might just finish this whole bar in one sitting. That's what happened to me my first time tasting it, but it's all about Brazilian coffee beans in this one. So a little skewed theme, not quite Brazilian cacao, but once you taste this bar and have a little crunch of those coffee nibs, your mind will melt. It is that good. Crone Moss does have some additional infusion blends as well as a good single origin lineup on top of their infusions. I haven't tasted one yet that I haven't loved, and I have tasted all of them, so I do highly recommend checking out some of the other options from Crone Moss. So that just about covers Crone Moss, and we'll be moving on to our next tasting. To continue this spooky Choctoberfest, we will be moving on and tasting a new chocolate maker that we have recently brought in, Aucassin's Single Plantation Chocolate. This is a 75% Brazil from the Fazenda Sempre Firme region, which is right up and around this area here. And it is absolutely phenomenal. So Aucassin's had started as just a plantation owner and essentially farm owner. Started in the Madagascar Bahofo estate. After many years of cultivating and farming cacao, he kind of became the most sought out cacao harvester in the world in that region of Madagascar. Fast forward to 2009, he had acquired a farm with his Brazilian partner, and ever since they have been producing Brazilian blends as well. Aucassin's wasn't originally a chocolate maker, simply just a cocoa cultivator, but after many years in the trade, he wanted to pursue crafting his own chocolate blends after he was seeing so many chocolate makers see success with the cocoa beans he was able to cultivate. This too is in the Bahia region in Brazil, so if you haven't got the hint, that is certainly the most sought out Brazilian cacao out there, as we have Dick Taylor, Prelude, and Aucassin's using cacao from that region. This would actually be a pretty great blend to compare side by side with the Prelude because there are no flavor infusions. It's just simply pure 75% chocolate. Both blends side by side. Aucassin's is also produced from bean to chocolate in France, but is cultivating the cacao from his own farms and plantations in Madagascar, Brazil, and then also his third, which is a newer, out of Indonesia. We also do have a good clip of Aucassin in an interview speaking to, the passion for the craft. So let's check that out.
Speaking of which, Bertil Atkinson of Atkinson's Chocolate joins me here in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. I see you've brought with you some of your own chocolates. Tell us a bit about what we've got here.
Here we have some chocolate I make from my beans my beans that I grow in Brazil. I have cacao plantations in Madagascar, 2,200 hectares in Madagascar, and then another plantation in Brazil. And I supply pretty much all the top chocolate makers in the world. And at some point, I was so fascinated by the difference of tastes that they could get with the same beans that I wanted to give my own interpretation of my beans. So I started doing my own chocolate back in 2009. And it's really about the plantations, about what we grow. So of course, cacao, essentially, but we also grow coffee, peppercorns, other crops. So I use the chocolate as a link between all these crops. So this is a plain chocolate, pure cacao, but we also do chocolate and coffee, chocolate with peppercorns.
This specific blend is using Forastero cacao, and it has won 8 global awards, whether it be Good Foods Awards, Academy of Chocolate. Oxen is really some of the best of the best. Alrighty, so we have just about covered our core Choctober Brazilian blends, but we're not finished quite yet. You know, to keep along this spooktacular theme, we obviously have our in-flight treats and want to give, you know, the most out of our Choctober because it's only once a year. So we will be moving to taste our in-flight treats, and this month we have 6 little minis from Michel Cluzel. We've covered Michel Cluzel countless times in the past, but this month we've included 3 of their darks and 3 of their milk blends from the Riachuelo plantation in Brazil. The orange packaging is a 70% dark, and the blue packaging is a 51% dark milk blend. As I also had mentioned last month, Cluzel has the new kind of tasting experience online. It is linked in the description below, but it is a full-on walkthrough tasting experience for the Riachuelo blends, and I haven't seen anything like it before. The quality and care and craft that has gone into this project is really stunning, and couldn't recommend enough to check this out. Despite only being 5-gram pieces, they fully encapsulate the flavor profile that they have in their Riachuelo Brazil blends. You know, I'm not sure if Cluzel is going to be wearing a Brazilian soccer jersey when he's crafting his Brazilian cacao, but, you know, I can't say I don't know he doesn't. So, you know, sticking with the theme, especially spooktacular, but those are some absolutely phenomenal minis, and trust me, they will not last long. So moving on to our final in-flight treat, it is from Chocolove, another familiar face out of Boulder, Colorado. Chocolove is using Belgian chocolate, and in this blend it's a 55% dark with almond butter filling. Absolutely stunning stet, and love the spooky theme of Choctober more than anything. Pairing it with Brazilian cacao, some fine blends, gives you a great tasting experience for this Choctoberfest, and we're really looking forward to seeing what we can do and continue to develop as time progresses. So thank you to everyone who stuck with us from the get-go, to all of our new subscribers and members. Thank you for joining. There's a lot more coming through the pipeline. So until next month, stay sweet, eat, sleep, breathe chocolate. Cheers.